useless as a pair of tits on bacon. Yeah, bacon, the bacon. I'm useless as tits on bacon. The bacon, and the bacon. I'm giving a
So, I don't know if you guys remember from the first episode, but I was setting this cup down and it made that sound. And so my friend Ben made me this coaster, and it's just beautiful. Look at this. It's got these slotted corners and maple on the top, and it's got these fuzzies on the bottom. And I thought I could use this to put this on here and have it not make that sound. It still does. So anyway, thanks, Ben. I love your coaster, but I still get my sound. Thanks. If you're back for another episode, if you've already seen one and you're back, I appreciate you. If you're coming along for the first time, if this is your first go around, thanks for joining. I think I have a really good one this week. Okay, I got an interview with a talent agent. So, gosh, trending in the right direction. You know, I think I'm off to a good start. Good job, Jim. So, his name is Chandler Dye, and he runs Big Time Enterprises. And I'm going to get him in here, and I'm going to talk to him. He's in the green room, and let's get him in here. I'm kidding. I don't have a green room. He's standing in that institutional hallway. Okay, Chandler Dye.
Yes.
I've already done your introduction.
Perfect.
On the show, and I have really looked forward to meeting you. This is the natural next step for me talking to a talent agent.
Yes.
Okay? So, and since you haven't seen any of the episodes, I'm going to go ahead and just bring you up to speed a little bit. Okay. I'm going to turn 62 next month, and when I was young, I wanted to be an actor.
Right.
But I didn't. I did other stuff. I did steel stuff and other stuff for 45 years. But now I've retired. I've completed that obligation in my life. And I'm going to go be an actor.
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
Put it out in the universe. Put it out in the universe.
You got to put it out there,
Yep.
man. And then it's going to come back to me.
Correct.
So, that's what I'm doing. And the first episode was me trying to explain this to people. And then last week's episode, I kind of did a man on the street thing where I went out and got people's reactions to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And of course, I realized that they know I'm the one doing it, so they're not going to tell me to my face that I'm too old.
Oh, you're never too old.
To be well, I thank you. That's the
never too old.
That's the consensus that I kind of got from this man on the street bit was that. And plus 62 is not, I got to get over the age thing. If it was 72, no offense to 72-year-olds, I didn't mean that. age is just a number.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing.
Right. I love it.
It's not complicated. It's odd. And later on, at the end of our interview, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you how you feel about that.
I love it.
And what you think.
Perfect.
Okay. Tell me how you got started in the industry. Why do you want to do this? How did it start?
Man, so how I started my business, and all this leads back to my father. You know, my dad was heavily into marketing and events, and that's kind of where my company started, was marketing and events, right? So, which then later led on to Big Time Talent, right? And so what I needed was some talent for my commercials here in this area. And I'm heavily involved in the Southeast Idaho theater world. So I was served on many boards like IFYAC, Sounds Choir, Sound Summer Musical, Ammon Arts Community Theater. I served on all these boards to bring community theater shows to the area, right?
Wonderful.
And so I knew all these people. So I was getting these people for commercials for a couple other people that also own talent agencies. And I was trying to help them do it. And I thought, why can't I do this myself? Mm-hmm. And it definitely was not easy at first. It's hard to find jobs for people. Mm-hmm. And everyone wanted to be in my agency. And I was like, some that obviously weren't good. And which everyone has a talent at something. I just want that noted. So I started Big Time Marketing, Big Time Events, and Big Time Talent. And those all three go into one another.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So what kind of commercials are we talking?
So I was head of marketing of a lot of companies. So we were thinking, we did one for a t-shirt company here. I need some actors that were just going to come in. They wanted experience on screen. We got that. We did some for a local company called Bumblebee. I don't know if you've ever heard of Bumblebee. Cutest goat soapery. So all their
Okay.
products are made out of goat milk and honey. And it's the best product ever.
Okay.
And so we did like the creep commercials with those. And so I worked heavily with Film Garage on that. And we started talking about how we want to evolve on all these different projects. And so that's how we got started with the commercials in the area.
Wow.
And then later, like what I've done is now I'm doing commercials with PBS and the government. So I actually go down on Saturday with one of my clients to film an anti-vape commercial for the government.
Wow.
So it's involved, and we are working on some movies now that the writer strike is over, and it'll be great.
Cool. That's amazing. I too am like to support the arts here in Southeast Idaho. My wife and I are season ticket holders to the Artie, the Actors Repertory
Yes.
Theater, and those folks.
We love the Artie.
I love the Artie, and I'm trying to get Becky and Mel over here from there to talk to me and tell me what they think about what I'm doing. But it all comes back to me, dude. Sorry, this whole thing just comes.
I love it. I love it.
Where do you see you and your companies in 10 years?
Oh, hopefully with lots of money. And that's always what I say. That's our end goal with businesses, is we want to make money out of them and everything like that.
Sure.
I would love to be constantly booking people in movies and stuff like that and create a big empire. That's what I would like to say. I know empire is kind of like a scary word, but I want to create something, because I've had a lot of people in my life saying, you can't do that. You can't do that. You're in Idaho. You cannot create something here. I said, why not?
Yeah.
And I'm if you tell me I can't, I'm going to go 10 feet further than what I said I was going to do.
Excellent. I love that spirit.
Yes.
That's kind of I'm having to dig deep to find that same spirit and not get bogged down, disappointed.
Right.
But I think last week got me over the age thing, because seriously, 62 isn't anywhere close to being.
And you don't
too
look
old.
it. I'm sorry, but you don't.
You're-
Dashing young man.
Why, thank you. Well, this whole thing was just I personally, I believe it's a way for my wife to continue to exploit me financially, because I've never thought of myself as that good looking. I think my friend Todd's way better looking than me.
Right.
I still think that, but no, so I've submitted to some agencies.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything back, but it's been a week and a half.
Hey, we would love to work with you. So
Well, we're coming to that.
Perfect.
I want to talk to you a little bit about, well, let's just go ahead and come to that. Is there anything I can do for you? Is there anything you can do for me? Well, let me go back. Stick a pin in that for a minute.
okay, sticking a pin.
You need to understand where I'm coming from. And you and I have not met before. We've not talked about this prior to filming.
Nope.
But in my first episode, I really stepped out there, and I said, well, I know the top 5 guys in this category, the very top in the industry, the guys that are wearing Gucci and Yves Saint Laurent, and I know who the companies that represent them. And I reached out to those companies because I said, I want to start at the top and not work my way down. I don't have time to go to modeling training.
Right.
I don't have time to go learn how to get my picture taken. I don't know. Let's go ahead and assume I already know how to do all that stuff. Let's go ahead.
Confidence is key in modeling.
Well,
too.
And that came up in during the photo shoot. The confidence that it took, and I talked about this in that first episode. I'm enamored with people that just naturally have that ability. I had to study for that photo shoot like it was an acting role.
Right.
And because I needed to come across brooding and emotional and thoughtful in some of them, and to me, and I keep explaining this, that stuff has to be going. If you're going to sell that, it's got to be going on behind the eyes. If you're going to sell it through the eyes, and so that's why I think modeling might be a good first step for me. And
Right.
but I don't, it's not, I'm not doing this as a lark. That this isn't something, I'm going to take it seriously. I'm going to be successful at it before I move on. But I think it gives me an opportunity to get out there and create a better situation for acting opportunities than I can just sitting here and going to cold auditions.
Right.
So
It's great. I love that.
That's kind of that's
Love
my
it.
rationale as to why I'm heading this direction and
Yeah.
why modeling, because I've had some questions, and so every episode I have to answer questions, and one of them was why modeling. You say you want to be an actor,
Yeah.
so that's why.
Yeah. And I think that they go very hand in hand together too. Sometimes, and when you do like a brand shoot, you film the commercial, but then they want to use you for social media as well.
Right.
You have to be able to model as well on top of that acting with the product and stuff like that. So, so I think they go very hand in hand. So when you have that modeling under your belt, you're more likely to get jobs because they're like, oh, he also does modeling. He's not just an actor. So
That's interesting. And like I said, I during that shoot, it felt like acting to me.
Right.
I've done acting. I've done some acting
Yes.
in my life, and to take it seriously and to come across the way I wanted to felt like acting to me.
yeah.
Okay, let's just put the rubber to the road.
Love it.
What can you do for me? What can I do for you? How can you and how can your company and me? So your job basically is to hire salespeople to sell stuff. So really, you're hiring me,
Yes.
and I'm to go put on some tennis shoes and sell those for your client.
For real. That's exactly what it is. A lot of the time, so I'll get a text or a call from someone and say, hey, we're looking for instance, if you were in my agency, they would call me and they would say, I need a man, early 60s, needs to be slender, this and this. They'll give me these. Then I will go to my thing and I'll look down my list of people. I'm like, okay, that they don't fit, but I'll still submit you. You know, I'll submit X, Y, and Z, and then they'll pick you. And then my job is to negotiate your money, negotiate the terms of everything. Because I feel like a lot of times with agencies and stuff like that, people get taken advantage of. And especially when the agent's not there. So I'm always at every single one of your shoots.
Well, I don't want to be my own agent.
Right.
Like I don't
It's hard.
Like I don't want to do my own accounting. I don't want to do the editing
Right.
that I'm doing. You
Right.
know, someday I'm not going to do that. But
It's someone else's. Someone else would
well,
like to do it.
it's just
eventually.
it's not in my wheelhouse. It's
Right.
not an expertise that I have, and I would rather pay someone to
Right.
make sure that that's happening correctly in my career and for those jobs.
Yeah.
So
So come January, what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be having an audition for my agency. And at this audition, it's not going to be like your typical audition because I am kind of changing how agencies work. Sometimes it's like, we're going to do all of this different stuff and you're not going to get in, right? I'm going to give everyone the opportunity because there is always a job for someone, and I will find that job for someone. It may take 3 years, but we will find a job for someone. So how I do auditions is I see what you're capable of. I'm going to see everything that you're capable of, so I can best get jobs for you. And we're going to get headshots so I can start submitting you ASAP. And that's how I do auditions.
when you say auditions, you mean acting, singing,
Voiceover,
voice acting?
all of the above. If you don't like how the game's playing, change the game.
You've got to.
That's what I said. And that's what I was like, you have like these, again, big agencies that get Disney, all these different things, but why can't I? You know?
That was really cool. I have never met a talent agent before. I can check that off my bucket list. What a neat guy. What an infectious spirit he's got. He used the word empire, y'all. That's the spirit I'm talking about right there, man. That is so cool. If there's anything I'm gonna help him. If there's anything I can do, as I'm heading off on whatever it is, I'm gonna. Especially since he was so gracious enough to come sit and talk with us here in the studio, I'm gonna reach out to him, see if there's something I can do to help him out. Anyway, thank you, Chandler. Really good to meet you. Next up in the show, Brian, my partner, my best friend, my confidant, all around good guy. He's pretty smart too. We call him Cables sometimes around here in the studio. We called him Brain back in the Steel days. Anyway, he's in town. We're retired from Steel, and he kind of took off. He shares time between Missouri, Arizona, and Minnesota. But right now he's back home for the holidays, and he was here in the studio the other night in Studio A, and he was going through some old files. He and I, we did some material for a podcast that never happened years ago. It was called Weeding Things Out with Cray and the Brain. That was one of them anyway. There was more than one. But we recorded and wrote so much material that never went anywhere, just lost to the ages, you know. And finding that the other night was like finding a photo album around the house that you've never seen before, and everybody just piles onto the couch, you know, to see all the photos. And there's some good stuff. There's some really funny stuff. And I wanted to take a walk down memory lane with you and share a couple of these with you. Some of them are voice acting kind of auditions. I just downloaded some stuff online, you know, just stuff about water. There was one commercial about water, and the first one that you're going to hear that we did right now is called A Haunting Title or A Haunting Tale. And it was just me trying to do my best radio voice. But the great part is this was Brian's first attempt at trying to do sound effects, you know, like creaks and doors and whatever. You'll hear it in a minute. But it was really, we thought we were cutting edge. You know, we just thought we were cutting edge at the time. And listening to it now, it's pretty funny. Give this a haunting tale or a haunting title. A haunting title. In this world, there is real evil. In the darkest shadows and in the most ordinary places. These are the true stories of the innocent and the unimaginable. Between the world we see and the things we fear, there are doors. When they are opened, nightmares become reality. Okay, so next up for you is a thing that ended up being very controversial. I got in a lot of trouble. Well, I didn't get in a lot of trouble. I didn't put it out there, but it wasn't well received by the people that heard it. And I don't get that. And I want to talk about that because it brings up a bigger issue, a great big issue for me. And it's just right in line with the industry that I'm heading into. You know, it's just a perfect topic to bring up right before I play this for you. And I'm going to play it for you in its entirety. But, you know, and this isn't a disclaimer. I want to open a discussion about this. And it's about comedy writing, comics. And where is that line in today's brave new world that we live in? Where's the line? I don't understand who can get away with what, and if it's subjective, who are the people that are deciding who gets canceled, who doesn't get canceled, what is offensive, what isn't offensive. You know, it's muddy water. And I listen back to this, and I want to defend its. I want to defend the writing. I'll probably end up, exposing the bit here, but this is a discussion. When you hear it, you'll understand what I'm saying. Anyone that would think that this is making light of school shootings, is an idiot, and they don't know me, never met me, and shouldn't imply anything like that. It's the name of the bit is Active Shooter Drill, and it's a public service announcement by a character that I do. I actually do it twice. I do it in two different characters, but it's not making light of school shootings. And interestingly enough, I'd like to add this point. I wrote this 10 years ago, and we still seem to be suffering from the same thing. It's just as relevant today as it was 10 years ago, and there's nothing effectively being done to stop it. And that was the lampoon. That's the point of the lampoon in this bit, is that there's nothing we can do to stop it. And where the origins for this came from were how I got the idea was all of my growing up. And I don't know where this came from. I don't know if this was the end of a joke or a punchline. The end of a story or a punchline to a joke. I don't remember. But I always remember hearing it upon seeing the brilliant flash of nuclear explosion. Hide behind your wooden desks, apparently to avert the emergency. I mean, obviously it's ridiculous, and it was fodder for a lot of comedy or a lot of satirical humor. I just remember that growing up, and that's kind of the vein that this is in. It's lampooning the fact that there's really nothing effective that we have done yet to help with this issue and to stop this problem. And that's the point of it. But at the end, I get in trouble a second time because I take a swipe at a fat kid. Okay, now, here again, like I opened with, I don't understand where the line is in comedy, in humor, and in what offends and what doesn't, and how careful you have to be. And I just watched Chris Rock's Netflix special, and I recommend it. It's some of his best stuff. But if it's subjective, and I get to have an opinion, he crossed a line at one point in his show, in his material. And I'm not going to tell you where that was, because that's just my opinion, okay? And no one's asked me for it. And I want to repeat that, okay? It's just my opinion, and no one's asked me for it. So it's just for me. It's just mine. I use it to modify my life, and I don't ever have to share it with anyone because it's just my opinion. But I believe it crossed a line, but it's there. It hasn't been canceled. He hasn't been canceled. The Netflix special is currently playing right now. But another comedian can get canceled for something just as subjective. Frankly, didn't cross the line as far as maybe Chris Rock did in his material, but gets canceled. So I don't... Wow, I almost want to, the reason I'm saying this, and it's still going to sound like a disclaimer, but it's not. I want to defend my right to write humor that I think is funny. Once you hear this bit, you'll know that the fat kid punchline is the only punchline. So if you're ready to be offended, if you're the type of person that's just waiting at a starting line, for somebody to say something wrong about school shootings or obese people or any walk of life, anything you want to insert there, take the next 15 seconds off and don't listen to this. This is for a different audience. I did this in two separate characters, and this first character's name's Andy, okay? But Andy was fashioned after Alan Bean. Now, for those of you that don't know who Alan Bean is, he was an astronaut. He walked on the moon in Apollo 12. He was also part of the Skylab 3 crew. Yes, I Googled that. But I did know he was an astronaut, but he was just so unassuming. He was from Texas, and he just had this kind of unassuming drawing. He was just happy to be there. Just happy to be there. He's the kind of guy you could have given him a mop, and he'd have started mopping. As long as you call me an astronaut, I'll mop. Just happy to be there. And I've loved every interview that I've ever heard of him, and that's where this first character derives from, is Alan Bean. And I called this guy Andy, and he's way more high pitched and much more of a caricature. But anyway, here it is. Active shooter drill with Andy. Enjoy.
All right, kiddies, it's time to practice our active shooter drills. I'm going to open up with this shotgun my therapist gave me and empty a couple of barrels over your little heads. Don't forget to hide behind your wooden desks, but more importantly, hide behind the fat kid.
So I open up with the shotgun my therapist gave me. It's comedy gold, man. Anyway, this next one, same bit, same material, only this guy's name is Saul. You know, he's just a good old boy. He bowls. You know, he's a good family man. Here you go, Saul, active shooter drill.
All right, kiddies, time to practice our active shooter drills. I'm gonna open up the shotgun my therapist gave me and empty a couple of barrels over your little head. Don't forget to hide behind your wooden desk, but more importantly, hide behind the fat kid.
So that's how Brian and I spent a lot of our afternoons when things slowed down in the steel business. We went after some voice acting auditions. We put down material for the podcast that never happened. But this has been, you know, I just want you to know the juices have been flowing for this sort of thing around here for years, ever since we even started the studio from the beginning, which was just at first supposed to be just a place to jam, a place to come take a break during the day. So anyway, thanks for watching. I can't wait for next week to see what great new adventures are going to be coming my way. But I appreciate you coming along, and peace. See you next week.